Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
$59. 11, 8, and 7 on a second half of a back-to-back when he made a statement about his arm, and sometimes when he goes up to block shots, it feels pain, other times it doesn't. I mean, this is what he's stating after he dropped 42 Saturday night against the Atlanta Hawks. He's talking about his physical pain. He's talking about his physical ailments. And then he goes out and dominates the Utah Jazz, scoring 26th in the fourth and just mixing in a handful of blocks when it was tied 86-86 with about 9 minutes to go. And he gets the block on the defensive end, runs up the floor, and hits a nice mid-range Jimmy as he's fading a bit to his side. That was absurd. My man was in his bag, and damn it, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. That was actually entertaining. Let's be honest. Through 14 games, this team is 7-7, and they have not been very fun. It has not been beautiful. We're watching a lot of misery. We're watching guys miss shots. You go back to, what was that, Thursday night when they played against the Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta? I forget which day of the week that was, but it was brutal. George Niang goes 1 for 7 from 3. Guys like DeAnthony Melton ended up going 2 for 7 from the field. I have the stats right here. PJ Tucker had 3 points in 24 minutes. He made 1 field goal. Tobias Harris was missing layups left and right. Thibel's offense in his 8 minutes was putrid. Maxey couldn't buy a damn shot. They shot 6 for 30 from 3, which was 20% from behind the arc. They had 17 turnovers, 15 assists. They had more turnovers than they did assists with these baskets. That's how bad it was. But over the weekend, it was all the big man. It was your MVP carrying you. And don't forget that when Jokic is playing, the Denver Nuggets have to rip him off the floor because he is such an embarrassment defensively that they can't even trust their MVP late in the game. Our guy was completely taking over. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like that on both sides of the floor. The Utah Jazz were so shook they couldn't even believe it. You could tell by the way that they were trying to pass the basketball out by the perimeter. They were leaving their feet and kicking it out. They were afraid. And at one point, they're driving the lane and they're trying to go to the basket when there's a wide open corner shot. Now, I don't remember exactly who it was, so, maybe that played a role. But to me, when I know Embiid is feasting and I know Embiid is meeting me at the rim basically every single possession at this point, in what world do you think you have the testicles to do it again? You'd be a fool. You'd be dumb. And look what happened. The Utah Jazz were just stupid in that moment because Joel Embiid said, "I'm here for you." I mean, that was ridiculous. Ridiculous. Believe it or not, I thoroughly enjoyed watching 76ers basketball. And I'm hoping that what we saw this weekend can help push them in the right direction. They're off until Friday when the Milwaukee Bucks come to town. Embiid is looking like Embiid again. I know. Everybody hated the way he looked to start the season. Without factoring in, he had how many surgeries? Without factoring in, he had to get comfortable again. Well, something looks different, huh? Like he's just playing more basketball and finding his groove. I don't know. Maybe you should have listened when I said, relax, Embiid will be just fine. I'm not thrilled with everything. Okay, I'm not trying to somehow put makeup on a pig and tell you that this is just great now because, well, Tobias Harris wasn't very good. PJ Tucker gave you 0 points in 30 minutes. Matisse Thybulle's defense was definitely noticeable, but I don't love Matisse Thybulle in my starting rotation. He made up for a lot of your flaws, but welcome to the NBA when superstars can carry you. When guys say, give me the damn basketball and follow my lead. Watch what I can do. You want to see a dominant big man? I'll show you a dominant big man. Hitting his jimmies. Going 20 of 24 from the charity stripe. No one ever really gives him the acknowledgement there at the line. He was so damn close to getting 60. And think about how many turnovers was happening in the beginning. I believe he finished the first half with 5 turnovers or so. So there was some unsettling passes, but he was still putting up his numbers. But, there's been some nights where you go back to the turnover numbers for Joel Embiid, and you would like that to be better. I just touched on that first game against Atlanta in Atlanta. We know that was highlighted and something that needed to change. And then look at the difference. Look at that fourth quarter. He basically scored every single damn point. That's how lethal he was. Every trip down the floor. He gets right into his spot. He puts his right hand out. He gets the basketball. And then he does his thing, man. I mean, it's hard to understand. It's hard to talk about it, right? Here we are, kind of mind blown, trying to replay it, trying to process what the hell he just did. Imagine being the one doing it. I went out with the wife tonight. Perfect time, by the way. When we got home from dinner, I turned the TV on, bang, tip-off. It was literally fantastic execution on my part. But we went out to the Cheesecake Factory. So here I am, stuffing my face with some fantastic calamari. Amazing. And then I go right into my course with a beautiful steak, medium, mashed potatoes, green beans. After that, a beautiful, outstanding strawberry cheesecake. Oh, man, stuffed is my point. I can't move. I'm in a damn food coma. It was hard to drive home because I was sweating. I was feeling all sorts of different I am stuffed to the max. So now, I would just naturally throw up because I'm watching a gross basketball player shred an opposing team into a billion pieces. I'm starting to get sick again while he's playing, and I don't know if the food's coming up just because I ate so damn much or if it's Embiid's greatness. Every single time, here's the Jazz thinking they're going to get a bucket. Rejected! This is what the team needed. I was kind of thinking about it because people got nervous in the home game against Atlanta that the Sixers had such a big lead and then they started to lose it a bit. Here we go. Doc Rivers is blowing it again. But at the end of the day, they gave themselves such a big enough lead. Like they earned themselves such a big lead. I was never really that scared. Did it get closer than I wanted it to? No doubt about it. But as much as Doc Rivers this, Doc Rivers that, for the first game against Atlanta, you're not going to win when you shoot that poorly. When Maxey struggles that pathetically, like it's all, like the player, you won't, I don't know who the coach is, where you're going to win when the player shot that badly. And that's not to say Doc didn't have a role in it, because from an inspired look of play, they didn't look very inspired. And it did look the way that when a coach gets canned, it kind of had that vibe to it. So that's real. That's real. What's upsetting for me, and I'll just admit this, the problem is people have been screaming, and this is the same thing that happened with Brett, but when there's individuals out there, I have a hard time having this dialogue because, there's people who say fire Doc every single day for the last how many years. Well, now they're starting to be right, and those people are like, oh, I've been saying it for, yeah, but you say to fire every coach, every day, every year, every loss, every single time. So your credibility doesn't count. Now, eventually you're going to be right. Every single coach in the NBA gets fired at some point. But literally after year one, fire Doc, Doc sucks, fire Brett, Brett sucks, fire this guy, fire that guy, he sucks. It's like nonstop. But eventually, the time will be on your side where you are correct. Those people are now in range of being correct because, well, let's be honest. There are some pathetic things that we watch out of this basketball team right now. So Doc has a hand in it, and the team sometimes looks so lost and so inspired that I think it's fair. With that, though, I was looking for a very emotional win to try and pull them out of the nonsense that we have seen because it's been terrible. And I'm just wondering, is this one of those moments where it can be possible? You play Milwaukee. In the beginning of the season, they really haven't been good against these better teams. Boston, Milwaukee. Well, is it time now where they can let this kind of soak in, get some time off to rest? Although I wish Joel didn't have this much time, a Sunday all the way until a Friday, because I think he's someone that maximizes off of that recent stretch. The more and more he's constantly out there. To be honest with you, I didn't even expect him to play today because he had 42. He was banged up. His whole entire body's falling apart. Yet you really can't judge that anymore because no matter what it looks like the night before, it doesn't matter because he seems to still do his thing regardless. Whether he's falling on the ground and he's stretching out his knee and he's flexing his knee, whether he's moving his shoulder and his rotator cuff looks like it's causing him trouble, it doesn't matter because he just gets it done. So I know to the eye test it's not always appealing, and I know it's not always great. But I was stunned to see him play. He made it seem originally in his post-game press conference on Saturday that he was, but then he opened up the door. We'll see how I'm feeling. We'll see how my body responds. So I was like, all right, now he's already backtracking. Once you start the backtrack, that's sort of a foregone conclusion. Well, 59, 11, 8, and 7. 20 of 24 from the line. Make it make sense. Make this make sense. Going back to that home game in Philly against Atlanta, Maxey did find his stroke a bit, 10 of 18 from the field, 3 threes. Shake Milton had something. Korkmaz, he ended up getting hurt. But he saw Korkmaz going to the rim, having a couple of nice layups. The Korkmaz! Just unfortunate, wasn't able to return to the game as one of your regular season guys. You know how I am with him. He's your typical regular season guy. There's a such thing. He's that to a degree. You need everyone at this point when a James Harden goes down. But this is where you lean on your top dog. This is where you lean on your big guy. It was irritating to see 18 offensive rebounds, get some second chance points from there, but this team still is going to do this to you. You're going to see poor transition defense. You're going to see bad things happen. I don't think you're going to snap your fingers and poof, everything we've watched through 14 is gone. At the same time, I do expect them to get better in certain areas. I do expect certain things to get cleaned up. I think their transition defense and all of that should be better than what we saw in the beginning of the year. Like, it should be something they know, hey, maybe that wasn't happening game 4 or game 5. Hey, it looks like they're buying in that department a bit. But when Joel does Joel things, one, it covers up. And two, it gets other players going sometimes. You were hoping for someone else to step the hell up and make a damn basket for you in the fourth. But just from a larger scale, when Embiid wakes up, the pulse of the entire organization wakes up. We're getting 42 and 59. Now, you're not going to see that every night. I thought the 50 bomb when they played Orlando last year was mind-blowing. Somehow he one-upped it. And the defense! And the damn defense! defense. And we can't overlook the 8 assists. 8 assists from your big man. Finding guys down below in the dunker spot. The turnovers. All right. I got you. Has to be sharper. Can't be giving teams transition points. Can't be giving them easy twos. Can't be giving them easy buckets. But Embiid's always been this way. Needs some time to find himself. Once he finds himself, good luck. All right, we got a text message, multiple text messages, but we'll start reading them here. Justin says, it's nice to win a game like this. Joel made basketball fun again for once this year. But is this actually how the 76ers are going to win? Asking your center to score over 100 points in 2 games. Will this work while Harden is out? Doc needs to be better. But look, I get it. Trust me, I do. Asking your center to do this every night is not some sustainable way of winning. With that said, though, let's just look at the other side, because I do feel it's different when you watch around the league. If you're casually watching a TNT game at 10:30, and let's say it happens to be the Lakers playing the Golden State Warriors, or whoever it is, but let's say Luka Doncic is playing, Steph Curry is playing, Kevin Durant is playing, and you're watching without this insane emotional tie, you're just watching as an NBA fan, and Luka Doncic goes off for 59, but maybe some other players for Dallas isn't doing well. Steph Curry scores 52. Klay Thompson's struggling. Draymond Green isn't really doing well. He's having an awful night. Guys are playing poorly. You just watch that and say, wow, that's awesome, right? You just watch that and go, I can't believe one of the best players in the league are being one of the best players in the league. Let's just appreciate that awesome. You don't go, well, I mean, it's not sustainable for the Warriors. Or you don't go, well, it's not sustainable for the Dallas Mavericks. Or, hey, it's not sustainable for the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant. Well, yeah, I mean, I get you. Trust me, I get you. I don't think every night you're going to see 30 plus. You're going to see 30 and 10. You're going to see 28 and 14. You'll see the norm of Joel. And if you haven't paid attention the last 2 years, I think you know what that is. But do you expect, let's flip it the other way. Maxey really did have 3 games that you don't really see out of Maxey. Trying to do too much, trying to get too many other guys activated, trying to figure out when he should shoot, when he should pass, when he should drive, when he can pull up in transition, overthinking the game, overcomplicating the game, specifically in Atlanta. Is that going to stay forever? Probably not. I think he's more of the 10 for 18 with 3 threes like we saw in South Philadelphia Saturday night. That's probably more the norm. So if you get one of those nights more consistently, does Embiid need 59? Now, I don't think Maxey is traditionally a guy with the ball in his hands, but last year I saw him do it at a rate that I at least felt more comfortable than I do this year, but there's also new guys. What is PJ Tucker? Here's one thing that I think I set myself up for in a bad way with PJ Tucker, and trust me, I saw his stats. He's got a long career. There's plenty of numbers to base this off of, so I didn't expect him to be Danny Green by any means, but just hear me out. When you lose a player like Danny Green, what did Danny Green do? He stood in the corner, and that was his spot. He made his living out by the perimeter in the corner. Well, that's what PJ Tucker likes to do. Now, there's a clear, huge difference in volume. So I didn't think he'd be shooting the same amount of threes from that area than Danny Green. I thought he'd give us more than what he's given us, though. I think that's fair. He averages single digits. I'm not trying to blow this out of proportion and expect him to be some lethal stud in the corners. But, I mean, come on. I mean, there's times where he's making 1 field goal a game. He didn't make any in 30 minutes. And by the way, I'm not thrilled with everything on the defensive side from the PJ Tucker experience through the 14 games this season, even knowing where he's at his age. But this factors into Maxey with the ball. Maxey as the primary ball handler with someone like Danny last year compared to someone like PJ Tucker, who's not putting up the same level of shot. It's completely different. Working in a Daniel House. Hell, sometimes you don't even know if Daniel House is playing, if DeAnthony Melton's playing. Guys are in and out of the lineup basically every single night. It's very strange. But when you get to the norm of these players, Maxey, more of the norm of Embiid, You don't need him to have 59. It's cool on those moments, and I think it's large to know that you can get that from him. Not that we never seen 59. But you know he has the ability to tell everyone to move the hell out of my way. It's not sustainable, but I don't think it needs to be to that level. When everybody gets accustomed to how they're supposed to play with this team. This text message is from a no-name texter. Did not leave the name. I still want Doc fired. Do not let this be a distraction. The center bailed out the head coach again. All righty. Look. I don't know what to tell you about Doc. I'm not the biggest fan of Doc. I never really was a die-hard fan of Doc Rivers. There's times this year where it has felt worse than I thought it would, even knowing that there'd be growing pains. I expected that. It didn't seem others did. I think majority of people thought that they'd start the year and just be fantastic, not skipping a beat. Well, why? Why? They're adding P.J. Tucker. Tobias always needs time to rejuvenate himself when there's other players plugged into the starting rotation. You have a whole new bench. To a degree. Not a whole new bench. Niang's back and all, but still, new guys. And by the way, not that I expected Charles Bassey to be as electric as he is right now, but I remember talking to Rich Hoffman of The Athletic. He was on The Fanatic with us at times, and I remember speaking to some other people who watch this team and cover this team, and I'm like, all right, it seems like Paul Reed is the one who's getting the edge, but you do remember what Charles Bassey can do. Yeah, but Paul Reed this and Paul Reed that. I like Paul Reed. At times, he shows that he's getting into foul trouble a couple minutes into the action for him. And it seems like on any given night, it's Harrell who's doing better or it's Paul Reed. I mean, it's a coin flip. You just don't know. Charles Bassey's doing things that makes you wonder. That's all. I thought it was too quick of a no-brainer that it was Paul Reed for my liking. But that could go back to Doc Rivers because you know Doc at times doesn't want to go young. Paul's young, though. Paul's young. But did you need the Harrell of the world? Did you have to go through the DeAndre Jordan experience? Are you in a different position if you buy into a Paul Reed and a Charles Bassey last year? Let them get their run. Let them blossom. Let them play. Let them grab some minutes so you can see what they're worth. Instead, because of the way he handled the bench last season, you were in a different predicament this season, and then you lose someone like Bassey. Is Bassey the difference in this team winning or losing a championship this year? Absolutely not. But I do think it's important to have these valuable pieces on your bench to a certain level. And I'm just saying, let's keep our eye out on what this Charles Bassey kid becomes because, let's be honest, he is making some eye-popping things happen. I got no diehard fandom of the head coach. We just have to see how it plays out. What if they win on Friday? What if they have a nice homestand? What if this starts doing better? Because honestly, even as someone that knows Doc is who he is, and even for the Doc haters out there, did you expect 5-7? Now, when it's all said and done in the playoffs, it might be a different story. But I'll go back to last year. You didn't lose the playoffs because Doc didn't lose you the series. Most of the times in the NBA, you just can't have your head coach get in the way. If Embiid plays like he did tonight in Game 7 of a second round, you're winning that basketball game. You're winning that basketball game. Doc didn't lose you the series last year. So just because you lost in the series, it doesn't automatically get pinpointed to the head coach. Only time will tell. I'm willing to do it. If it continues, I'm willing to do it. Whether it's Thanksgiving, right after Thanksgiving, whether it's the Christmas time, whatever. I'm not tied to him by any means. But I do know that I'm conflicted here because if you're going to do it, you should have done it before the season began. No, I wasn't in favor of that. I didn't think he deserved to get canned. I'm saying to fire someone 10 games into an NBA season, because a lot of fans were screaming for that to start the year. Game 6, Game 7, Game 8, get him out. What does that do? You just went through all your training camp. You just went through everything with this coach. I don't think that makes sense. And if your response is you're just wasting time anyway, I don't know if you're wasting time. If they continue that pace, well then yes. If they start to win, well then no. Udoka had the Boston Celtics last year at 25-25 after 50 games. Now Udoka, before he started banging people behind the scenes, was regarded as one of the best NBA coaches, but nobody was saying that after 50 regular season games last year. We know what Doc is. We know what Doc is. I'm not expecting Doc to be anything other than Doc Rivers. His resume speaks for itself. The next few upcoming games will tell me a lot more. Another no-name texter here. Sometimes just appreciate the greatness. Get lost in the 48 minutes of the game. Get lost in each possession. Feel the excitement and feel the domination. Joel deserves to be praised tonight. I heard Friday's show on The Fanatic, and one of your callers said he was soft. I wonder what he's thinking now. I can't believe it. If I was 7'2", that's what this person said. If I was 7'2", yeah, if you were 7'2", what? You'd suck at basketball if you were 7'2". If I was 7'2", I'd go down in the paint. If I was 7'2", shut up. Shut up. Joel's hitting jimmies. Joel's hitting jumpers. He did everything. The reason why he's able to do what he can do is because he can score from every single level. He took 5 threes tonight, and I didn't make them all. And I thought for his 60th, the one to try and hit his 60th point, I'm like, oh my God, could you imagine if that fell? But yeah, I mean, you had Joel. He scores 40 plus. Think about it. This moron, this dope, and you could tell he was an older gentleman, so he's only accustomed to one style of basketball, which was when he was growing up in the 70s and 80s, not realizing that the game has completely changed. It's funny, though, because all these people that say Embiid soft, this and that, they bring up Jokic. Not that this individual did. I'm just saying, well, how does Jokic play the game? I mean, he's a big man who passes like guards do. It's almost like his game has been adapted to 2022. But he can't play defense. But anyway. Embiid's all 3 layers. 3-point, mid-range. That mid-range, that's money, man. That's money. You know how he does it as he gathers it off the dribble? 7'2", gathering off the dribble. Yeah, he's soft. I'll never understand. Never understand. Ethan. What's up, bros? It's Ethan. Hello, Ethan. Holy crap, Hans is the man. He was automatic from everywhere tonight. Great win for the 76ers, beating arguably the best team in the West. Yeah, I mean, the Jazz are what they are. I don't think by the end of it we'll be thinking of the Jazz as some top-tier Western Conference team. Also, where are all the people saying we should trade Embiid? They're awfully quiet tonight. Yeah, I don't know if we got any trade Joel Embiid stuff, just more disappointed in Joel Embiid is kind of probably more along the lines of what we were hearing. But 26 points in the fourth quarter, so many damn blocks in the fourth quarter. I've never seen domination look that way in a long, long, long time. We've seen plenty of top-tier athletes make some special things happen on the basketball floor. But it being from the center, the way Embiid did it tonight, it was amazing to the eyes. I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me tonight. We'll leave it here, right? Because I know normally this is all about the post-game shows, and that's how I operate, and that's what we've done for a long period of time. I've had a very difficult time over the last week and a half after the Phillies heartbreak finding myself, getting into the thick of it with these winter teams. Just not lying. That's how it's been. We have the Eagles on Monday. The Flyers are starting to show the Flyersness. But I'm just saying, I know I brought this up a couple of different times now, but I'll get there. I'll get there. But going on that World Series run just threw me into a new world. And I'm trying to recover. And I think we're getting there. I'm starting to feel a different buy-in factor on my watches for the Sixers and the Flyers lately, so I can feel it. We're getting there. We're getting there. But I appreciate all you guys throughout it, and just appreciate you guys in general. Thank you guys. You're the greatest. I love you. Catch you on the next one.